I've had a lovely time.
And to think I might have roamed the whole world over and never found you.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today to talk about Somewhere Under the Stars. I mean, next to 31 Days of Oscar, this is my favorite time on TCM. And by the way, you guys have been killing it for the past year over at TCM, because nothing's more boring than throwing up a classic film and go, here's Casablanca, enjoy, you know. And you've been doing, you know, the neo-noir series just ended, and your interview with Andrew McCarthy, and God, I love the courtroom stuff with Ben and his brother. I mean, you guys are really opening up these discussions, and I just been a couch potato for the last, especially this summer, you know, watching TCM.
I so appreciate that. We've heard from so many people that TCM has become even more of a comfort to them, and our programming team is amazing, coming up with different ways to group these films and theme them, and sometimes we get to give our input too on some different series ideas. So it just means so much to us that people still love the channel as much as they do.
It's nothing like the TCM of maybe a year or two ago. I mean, it's just exploded. So congratulations on that. And I love Somewhere Under the Stars because this is a chance to introduce people to classic film, but classic movie stars, and in one big setting. And we won't go through every, you know, all 31, but I'll just have a handful here. And also I want your input too. And I think the one that stood out most to me this year was George Siegel, you know, because we just lost him, and he has always been one of my favorite actors. Where's Papa? You're playing one of the funniest comedies ever. And I remember the Bridget Remagen before cable came around, catching that on your local affiliate when that was available, and Virginia Woolf, one of the best plays ever, one of the best performances. So, but Where's Papa? I haven't seen that in years, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and the great thing about Somewhere Under the Stars is that you really get to dive into a particular actor that you really love or that you're curious about, and see how their career might have evolved over a long period of time. I mean, someone like Robert Redford, who maybe we'll talk about, the time span between the first movie of his that we're showing and the last is almost 40 years. And in a lot of these cases, you know, George Siegel, it's 60s and 70s, and you get to see him as a supporting player in something like Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, but also as a leading man in something like King Rat. And it is especially poignant that we're having him as one of our 31, because as you say, he did just pass away a few months ago. So I'm really, really glad that we're doing.
You're not showing my favorite film of his though. I'm bugged. Yeah, it's Who's Killing the Great Chefs of Europe with Jacqueline Bisset. That was my favorite film when I was a kid. I used to own a 16mm print of that too in my collection. So, but I forgive you. You know, you got Where's Papa, so that's awesome.
All right, good.
One thing I love about TCM is that even after being a critic and for 25 years, and also just a classic film fan since I was a little boy, there's always something to discover on TCM. And a few years ago, I discovered Margaret Rutherford in her Miss Marple series. And I can't get enough of Murder at the Gallup. That's my favorite. Robert Morley in that too. But there's just something about her that's so hypnotic to watch her. I just can't take my eyes away from her.
She's so great. And, you know, obviously a lot of people know her because of this Miss Marple character, and we're showing several of those. But of course, if you're an Oscar nerd like me, you know about the VIPs, which is the movie that she won her supporting actress Oscar for, and she really steals the show from people like Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor, this A-list cast that's in this movie that takes place at, I think, at London Heathrow, when they're all stranded and all their flights are kind of grounded because of fog, I think. And she plays this like super rich woman, and just every line out of it, it's like John Gielgud in Arthur. Every line is just so great, and that's her.
And that character is, I think, a precursor to Helen Hayes in Airport. That's what I think. Yeah,
nice. Good one.
Also, Abbott Costello, one of my favorites as a kid. The one I love, of course, meets Frankenstein, you know, because it's like every classic monster is one of the biggest comedies of all time. But also I love in Hollywood too, because I love character actors. You know, I just have a passion for them. And Rags Raglan, I've never heard of him until I saw that where he's trying to give him a shave. And then he's popping up, you know, all over TCM lately. You know, I just see him in little bit parts. So, but I love discovering character actors inside these big Hollywood films.
Yeah, so Abbott and Costello, Ben Mankiewicz is doing the nighttime ones, whereas Abbott and Costello meet, you know, Billy the Kid and Frankenstein and all that. I have the daytime, so I have Buck Privates. A lot of them have similar kind of supporting players, the same supporting players throughout. And then the one that I think is really cool that we're showing is called The Time of Their Lives, which is the rare Abbott and Costello movie where they aren't in any scenes together really, and they hardly even interact. They have separate plot lines because they're so usually intertwined and interlinked in all of their movies. But in this particular movie, The Time of Their Lives, they tried something a little bit different, which they had only done, I think, one other time, where they have them in separate plot lines, which is really interesting.
I'll have to check that out. I've not seen that. Yeah. Quickly, Lee Marvin, Point Blank, Dirty Dozen. I could watch those every day. I know they just did Neo Noir. You know, what a great series that was with Eddie Muller. Just love that.
Cool. Lee Marvin.
Oh, just he's the best. I love Tony Randall since I was a kid, with Odd Couple and Seven Faces of Dr. Lau is just, George Powell. I mean, but a lot of those films you have listed, I haven't seen. So I've seen his Rock Hudson films but I've never seen some of those. So I'm looking forward to Tony Randall too.
Awesome. And that's the beauty of Summer Under the Stars, is that we can go a little bit deeper than just, the ones that people know. And we can go and search for some of the ones that don't get played as often. So if you really, really want to learn about Tony Randall, where there's 11 or 12 movies, including some with Rock and Doris, but then a lot where he got to do something different.
He has the best comic timing ever. I just love him. All right. And also through your list here for Summer Under the Stars, as I call my second chances, Tyrone Power. I'm not a fan. I'm going to give him a second chance. I keep thinking witness for the prosecution when he's up in the stand. No, he overacts so bad. And I'm going to give him a second chance because I haven't experienced enough Tyrone Power. But
have you ever seen Razor's Edge?
Which one?
The Razor's Edge with him.
I have, yeah, he's excellent in that. I have seen Razor's Edge. But I mean, there's a lot of those films I just haven't seen, but I'm going to give Tyrone a chance this month.
Good. Okay, I like that.
And what about you? What are you looking forward to? I know you're a Bette Davis fan, right?
I am definitely a Bette Davis fan, and if people are going to watch one Bette Davis movie that we're showing, I would say A Stolen Life, where she plays two different characters. She like one good sister and one evil sister, and that one's super fun. And then also my favorite, because they actually asked us all to do something for social media where we kind of say who our favorite person is for Summer Under the Stars this year, and I think mine is Eve Arden, because I love everything about her. I love just the way that she carries herself. I love that she's like the smartest person in the room all the time. I love her delivery of all of her witty one-liners. And we're showing Mildred Pierce, which is one of my favorite all-time films. So
you and me both. I watch Mildred Pierce every time it's on. And I only know her in a handful of films. I know her from the Big Circus with the Marx Brothers, and I know her from Anatomy of a Murder, where she's Jimmy Stewart's secretary. So again, I'll check out some more of her films because I only know her from her sitcom days when I was a kid, like Mothers-in-Law, and but not much of her feature films.
And as I'm sure you know, she's very famous for a role that she did called Miss Brooks, a teacher. So that was a TV show for, I think, 8 years. And then near the end of the TV run, they made a movie out of it called Our Miss Brooks. And that's one of the ones that we're showing too. So arguably one of her most famous roles, along with Mildred Pierce, I would say, because that was her Oscar nomination. So yeah, I think you get to learn a lot about her. And then also, I'm just a big Ingrid Bergman fan. So that we can show Casablanca and Gaslight on the same day. I just think that's really great because I think she's glamorous and graceful and so much poise.
Real quick, Robert Mitchum, Esther Williams, James Cagney, Judy Garland, Gregory Peck, Robert Redford, Katharine Hepburn. It's a who's who of classic film stars. I can't wait. So Dave, thanks so much for taking time out to speak to me today. I really appreciate it. And can't wait to see you at the next year's film festival. We got to get back to normal here.
We are all looking forward to that next spring. I'll definitely look forward to seeing you there, Jeffrey. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much. Take care.